At this time, we ask that you please silence all electronics and refrain from using flash photography for the remainder of the ceremony. Now please enjoy one more song from the Texas A&M choral groups.
Amazing grace. Howdy. It is an extreme honor to gather here with you today, April 21st, for the campus muster ceremony. Although we each come tonight with different backgrounds and experiences, I cannot think of a better place in which the physical embodiment of the Aggie spirit can be felt. I want to start by saying thank you for being here. Whether this be your first or 10th muster, thank you. Thank you to the class of 1974 for returning home to Texas A&M this weekend to be with us. Thank you to the current and former students who are mustering around the world tonight. And thank you to those honoring a loved one for joining the Aggie family today in Aggie land. In this moment, let us acknowledge both the blessings and the hardships that we have experienced this past year. We will now take a brief moment to pause for those who are absent. Muster showcases past, present, and future Aggies. Although campus may change and adapt, the Aggie spirit lives on, unwavering by time. Whether we knew it or not, when we were admitted to Texas A&M, we signed an intangible contract. We made a promise to ourselves and our peers. We promised to always be respectful, have excellence, show loyalty, be leaders, live with integrity, and demonstrate selfless service. We promise to be a part of something greater than ourselves and to serve those who come before and after us. These are the reasons why we choose to muster. To answer here for those who are no longer with us is our duty in being an Aggie. Tonight's ceremony may serve as a celebration of life for some or a time of mourning for others. No matter the reason in which you came, we welcome you here to Aggie land. Tonight we will softly call the muster, and each of us will answer here for the Aggies whose spirits will live on, not only in our memories, but also in our hearts, to act as a guide for how we ought to live and carry ourselves. Muster will not end tonight after the names have been called. Muster will be here for however long you may need it. So remember the feeling of tonight and hold on to them. Let them guide you and bring you comfort in the days when the Aggie family cannot be physically beside you like tonight. Tonight and forevermore, we will be true to each other as Aggies can be. Thank you for being here, and thank you for honoring those who are absent.
Good evening. On behalf of the Aggie Muster Committee and Texas A&M University, it is my distinct honor to welcome you to the 2024 Campus Muster Ceremony. Tonight, we gather to uphold a beloved and timeless Aggie tradition, as others have done on this campus for the past century. We are joined by musters across the world, all with the same purpose, to softly, yet firmly, answer here for our fellow Aggies. This roll call symbolizes that every Aggie is important and that their life will be eternally remembered. I would like to take a moment to thank you all for being here tonight. To the class of 1974, it is my sincere honor and pleasure to welcome you home to Aggie land. This place has no doubt changed in looks, but I can assure you the Aggie spirit that you nurtured during your time here is alive and well. It is an honor to be able to share in this camaraderie and remembrance with you on this day. To the current and former students, thank you for choosing to be with us tonight. Whether this is your first muster or one of many, I encourage you to embrace this evening and delve into what it means to be an Aggie. To our extended Aggie family, thank you for being here to support a tradition so sacred to the Aggie spirit. In your presence here tonight, you are an integral part of Aggie land and this sacred tradition. And to our honored families, know that you do not experience this loss alone. Though you may not see us in the darkness, there are thousands of Aggies standing alongside you in solemn reverence to carry on the memory of your loved one with us forevermore. I hope some of the shadow cast by your loss will diminish with the lighting of every candle here this evening, returning to the light of happiness and positivity of your loved one's memory. Tonight we will pay homage to your loved one once more, gone, but most certainly not forgotten. For a century, Aggies have been honored on this campus, allowing their legacies to be forever etched into the hearts of all those who answer here for their fellow comrade. This tradition has changed and evolved over the years, yet always remaining true to its purpose, upholding the dignity of our fellow Aggies. We gather here to remember the Aggies who, though absent in body, are forever present in spirit. We reaffirm our commitment on this April day to honor, but to never forget. Tonight is Aggie Muster.
The Last Corps Trip by P.H. Duvall, Jr., class of 1951. It was Judgment Day in Aggieland, and tenseness filled the air. All knew there was a trip at hand, but not a soul knew where. Assembled on the drill field was the world-renowned 12th man, the entire Fightin' Aggie team, and the famous Aggie band. And out in front with Royal Guard, the reviewing party stood. St. Peter and his angel staff were choosing bad from good. First he surveyed the Aggie team, and in terms of an angel swore, "By Jove, I do believe I've seen this gallant group before. I've seen them play since way back when, and they've always had the grit. I've seen them lose and I've seen them win, but I've never seen them quit. No need for us to tarry here, deciding upon their fates. 'Tis plain as the halo on my head that they've opened heaven's gates." And when the 12th man heard this, they let out a mighty yell that echoed clear to heaven and shook the gates of hell. "And what group is this upon the side," St. Peter asked his aide, "that swelled as if to burst with pride when we our judgment made?" "Why, sir, that's the Cadet Corps, that's known both far and wide for backing up their fighting team, whether they won, lost, or tied." "Well then," said St. Peter, "it's very plain to me that within the realms of heaven they should spend eternity, and have the Texas Aggie Band at once commence to play, for their fates too we must decide upon this crucial day." And the drum major, so hearing, slowly raised his hand and said, "Boys, let's play the Spirit for the last time in Aggie land." And the band poured forth the anthem in notes both bright and clear, and 10,000 Aggie voices sang the song they hold so dear. And when the band had finished, St. Peter wiped his eyes and said, "It's not so hard to see, they're meant for paradise." And the colonel of the Cadet Corps said, as he stiffly took his stand, "It's just another Corps trip, boys. March in behind the band."
Howdy. And welcome to the very soul of Aggieland. Muster is an incredible and incredibly moving event, but it's so much more than that. It's a spiritual homecoming that brings Aggies together across continents, across generations, and across time. It reminds us that no Aggie is ever alone. It reminds us that every Aggie will be remembered. And it reminds us that our core value of loyalty is an eternal commitment. The men and women of the Aggie Muster Committee have worked tirelessly to bring us to this moment in our annual March to Muster. They've put an incredible amount of time and energy into preserving this signature tradition for this and future generations of Aggies. And I'd like to ask you to join me in thanking them for their incredible work. For those of us on campus, the road to Muster began early this week with the opportunity to visit the Muster Reflections display in the MSC that our honored families contributed to. It was such a privilege to learn about the remarkable lives of the Aggies those honored families are here tonight to remember. To those families, we grieve with you. We celebrate your Aggie tonight, and we repeat our promise that we will never forget them. I believe the best thing about Muster for faculty and staff is that we have the joy of experiencing it through the lens of our current students. Many of those students are here tonight, including a number of them experiencing Muster for the very first time. And to those students, I would offer a couple of thoughts. First, Muster is all about family. And all of us are part of your family now. Those aren't just words. We have your back forever. Every year, every muster is a reminder of that. Secondly, every Aggie has a story. All of the honored names you'll hear tonight have a story. Those stories are remarkable, and each of them is unique and uniquely special. I encourage you to learn the stories, because knowing them will enrich your life beyond anything you can imagine. And finally, remember that when the final chapter of your story is written, no matter where on this earth that happens, an Aggie will call your name. Another Aggie will answer, and a flame will appear as a reminder that your light will never be extinguished. It's a gift. It's passed from Aggie to Aggie to Aggie, from generation to generation to generation. And every muster celebrates the passing of that gift. Welcome to the most important event on the Aggie calendar. Welcome to muster.
Howdy. What an honor it is to be with you tonight for Aggie Muster. On behalf of your premier alumni organization, the Association of Former Students, thank you all for joining us for this powerful demonstration of the Aggie spirit. To the families of those we remember this evening, we are deeply sorry for your loss, but very grateful for your presence and for the mark your loved one has left on all of our hearts. I want to recognize the class of 1974, who this year celebrate 50 years as former students. We sincerely thank you for the impact you have had and continue to have on Texas A&M. More than any other of our many traditions, Aggie Muster sets Texas A&M apart. As former Texas A&M President and U.S. Secretary of Defense Robert Gates said, this ceremony has no parallel in any other institution in America. Not in the armed forces, not in the CIA, not in business, and certainly not in any other college or university. As we gather by the tens of thousands here in Aggieland on musterlive.com, Aggies are gathering by hundreds in Houston and Dallas, by the dozens in New York, Italy, Panama, as well as on a cruise ship in the Mediterranean. Aggies are also gathering today in groups of 2 or 3 in backyards across America, Europe, Asia, as well in combat zones around the world. Each muster is unique, but all of them will conclude with friends and family proudly answering here for departed loved ones. Dr. John Ashton, class of 1906, instructed us in Roll Call for the Absent, the poem he wrote in 1943, softly call the muster, let comrade answer here. So tonight, we will answer, just as our forebears have done for generations. We will answer for friends, relatives, classmates, colleagues, and for some with whom we share only the bond of being Texas Aggies. Tonight, the muster roll call in Reed Arena honors our campus community. Earlier this morning in Aggieland, starting at sunrise, the full worldwide muster roll call was called and answered with here for each and every one of the nearly 1,300 Aggies we lost since last muster. Among the countless blessings of being a Texas Aggie is the comfort of knowing that someday someone will answer here on our behalf and mark us present in their hearts. It could be in this very arena or in a backyard somewhere in the world, but someone will answer here for us at our journey's end. That is a sacred promise of Aggie Muster. On behalf of the Association of Former Students, Thank you for gathering tonight in remembrance and fellowship as we keep that promise to those fellow Aggies we have lost. Gig 'em and God bless.
Howdy. As we call muster tonight, we remember our friends, family, loved ones, and community. This time-honored tradition of muster cuts to the core of what being an Aggie is. I look around this arena tonight and I'm reminded of the first time I heard of muster. In high school, at the very beginning of my Aggie journey, my Aggie football coaches spoke of their favorite traditions at A&M. Growing up in a Longhorn household, I'd never heard of any of these traditions, including muster, and did not fully understand its importance. As I learned more about the tradition we are all taking part in tonight, I quickly realized how sacred and special it truly is. Muster is the perfect display that shows A&M is not just a school we go to class and receive diplomas from. It is a community, a family, that welcomes every Aggie journey with a howdy and ends with a here. In April of my freshman year as a Fighting Texas Aggie, I attended my first muster, and I immediately comprehended the community that my coaches had spoken so highly about. As General Welsh spoke, I understood the community between Aggies who remember every Aggie lost that year with a solemn here, whether we knew them or not, because of the love and connection of that Aggie spirit. Tonight, at the 100th campus muster, the connection between Aggies on campus remains as strong as when the university was founded in 1876. Tonight, our student body, the 12th man, continues to embrace and embody the undying spirit of Aggieland in all they do. Tonight, I stand before each of you who is honoring your loved one with an even greater understanding of this spirit, having answered here earlier today for a loved one. It is my hope that as we recite here, we remember each Aggie and their impact on this university. Let us remember and honor their legacy and impact on our fellow Aggies. Let us remember our duty and responsibility to carry on the Aggie legacy. And finally, let us remember what unites us as Aggies, our undying Aggie spirit that connects all Aggies through the legacy and values of tradition that will never be forgotten. Please rise for the singing of the 12th man.
Texas Aggies down in Aggie land, we've got Aggie spirit to a man. Stand united, that's the Aggie theme. We're the 12th man on the team. When we're down, the going's rough and tough. We just grin and yell, we've got the stuff to fight together for the Aggie dream. We're the 12th man on that fighting Aggie team. Texas Aggies down in Aggie land. We've got Aggie spirit to a man. Stand united, that's the Aggie theme. We're the 12th man on the team. When we're down, the going's rough and tough. We just grin and yell, we've got the stuff to fight together for the Aggie dream. We're the 12th man on that fighting Aggie team.
Please be seated. Today we have the privilege of opening our arms to the class of 1974. To the members of the reunion class, welcome home. We are so grateful that we get to share your 50th class reunion with you. Campus may look a little different compared to what it was almost 5 decades ago, but I can assure you that it is the same Aggieland you remember. In the 50 years since their graduation, these men and women have gone out to show the world what it means to be an Aggie. Having them back on campus allows us to hear their stories that helped make Texas A&M what it is today. Each story can teach us something about our university and about ourselves. The class of 1974 has always known how to adapt to an ever-changing Aggieland. During their time on campus, 74 saw the addition of a post office and a bowling alley to the MSC. I know the current student body is jealous of that. AP Butyl Health Center was also open during their time on campus. They even saw the student body population grow to a whopping 21,000 students. They made sure to celebrate every first down as if they were touchdowns, because those were too rare, and the students still wanted to have some fun. While they stood in a very different and much smaller Kyle Field, the energy on game days were no different. To them, it didn't matter that we finished 3rd worst team in the Southwest Conference. Despite these changes, there are so many similarities between the class of 1974 and the students of today. We both have experienced first day jitters at the start of each semester. We both whooped, yelled, and cheered on our team like only the 12th man can, because next season would be our season for sure. We both feel the joy of saying howdy to someone when you pass them on campus. And most importantly, each of us know that without our traditions, we would not be Aggies. Our traditions are the lifeline of Texas A&M. The tradition of muster unites thousands of Aggies with the purpose of honoring those who have come before us and reminding us that we are truly a family. Our family invites all who live according to our core values while also welcoming back each existing member with the same passion and enthusiasm that first drew them in. By continuing our traditions like muster, we are ensuring that future students can feel that they are a part of something bigger than themselves, that they are truly a part of a family that cares for each member. These men and women of the class of 1974 exemplify what it means to be an Aggie and a part of the Aggie family. I've had a pleasure of speaking to several reunion class members over the past few months. While talking about the differences between now and then, almost all talk about the size of the student body, how the buildings have changed, or even how much better our football team is now compared to when they were here. They all end the list of differences by adding, campus may look different, but the spirits of the students remain the same spirit that brought us here tonight. This spirit has allowed the muster tradition to last for 100 years and will keep this tradition going for 100 more.
before to the promised land. Each name is called upon the roll. Comrades, answer here. Trumpets sound their sad goodbye to those we held so dear. All heads are bowed in silent pledge, never to forget, while rifles fire their last salute, echoes answer yet. To their memory will be true, we will take their place, one for all and all for one, ever in thy grace. We'll meet again another day, reunion while we pray, to ask thy blessings on each one, on this muster day. Aggie Muster Day.
Howdy. The muster tradition serves to provide a space for the Aggie family to mourn, celebrate, and reflect. Together, we will remember the lives of those we knew dearly and ones we did not know at all. Tonight, we recognize the legacy of the class of 1974 and celebrate the friendship and bonds that have endured 50 years. We are challenged and invited to reflect on Texas A&M University and what makes it so special. Its values, its unique spirit, and most importantly, the people who give this place meaning, Aggies. The muster speaker is tasked with giving words to the Aggie spirit, a spirit that can ne'er be told. Though it may be difficult to verbalize, it can be understood, and it can be felt. Like many of you, I feel it in this room tonight, and I feel it when I reflect on the life of this year's muster speaker, Major General Timothy Green. General Green was born in Midland, Texas. He was primarily raised by his mother, an educator, who taught him the responsibility that we all have to serve others and persist through life's challenges. General Green followed in her footsteps and committed to living a life of service, which brought him to Texas A&M as a first-generation college student. General Green's first experience at Texas A&M was fish camp. There, he was introduced to the Aggie family and our university's beloved traditions. He joined the Corps of Cadets, an outfit A battery. As a cadet, he became the executive officer of the Fightin' Texas Aggie Band and was a member of the Ross Volunteer Company. He even served as a fish camp counselor, where he met his wife, Susan. At Texas A&M, General Green learned the joys and difficulties of leadership and how to be invested in the success of others. He graduated in 1986 with a degree in civil engineering and later obtained his master's in the same subject from Texas A&M in 1992. Later, he was awarded a Distinguished Graduate Award from the Zachary Civil Engineering Department in 2022. Upon graduation, he was commissioned into the United States Air Force, where he served our country for over 30 years. As the Director of Civil Engineers at the Air Force Headquarters in Washington, D.C., he supported global military operations, commanding critical missions from the Aviano Air Base in Italy and Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. In that capacity, he supported 51,000 military and civilian engineers, enabling military operations at 183 bases around the world. He also served as the Air Force's senior engineer in the Middle East during the surge of U.S. forces into Iraq, supporting joint force operations from the Horn of Africa to Afghanistan. Additionally, he served as special assistant and advisor to 2 Supreme Allied commanders of Europe. After his career in the military, he remained steadfast in his commitment to national security and servitude. He is now the director of the Bush Combat and Development Complex, a technological research and development facility aimed at producing new technologies for the United States Armed Forces. This enables those serving our country to be equipped for any conflict or future challenge that may come their way. General Green was chosen as our campus muster speaker because he represents what is best about Aggies. Humble by nature, like the farmers who founded this institution, grounded in the things that matter, such as his family, which he remains most proud of, and committed to continuously asking the question, how can I be of service, nearly all the days of his life? On behalf of the Muster Committee, it is with great pride I present a man who not only knows what it means to be an Aggie, he is what it means to be an Aggie. It is my honor to introduce to you the 2024 Campus Muster Speaker, Major General Timothy Green.
Thank you, Abby. Howdy. What an honor it is for me to be here tonight with you. When Abby reached out with the committee's invitation, it literally took my breath away. In so many ways, Muster represents what is best about Texas A&M, our connection to one another and our connection to this institution. So it's impossible for me to share in just a few minutes what A&M and Muster means to me. So I want to share with you perhaps the greatest lesson of life and leadership that I took with me from A&M. The lesson that a life of integrity demands that we respect others, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Tonight, respect starts with the family members of those we gather to remember, the remarkable lives that we lost this past year. Each name called includes a unique story, a family, a fellow Aggie, many lives touched. Family members and the reflection displays in the Memorial Student Center this weekend provided a glimpse of each honoree and their impact. They were both inspiring and heartbreaking. Thank you for sharing those with us. We are grateful to each person that we honor tonight and the time they spent enriching Texas A&M. Respect. The class of '74 is in the house. I had a chance to visit with many members of your class, and it is simply incredible the impact that you've made on your communities in this nation, and that you continue to make today as you invest in others. You represent what we hope to be. Thank you for all you've done to pass back what is best of Texas A&M. For me, the most important person here tonight is Susan Green, class of '87, and my wife of 35 years and 11 months. I would not be here without her at my side. We met as members of Camp Little Rascal in Fish Camp '83. Our first date was to Swenson's Ice Cream Parlor. Our first football game was at Rice, a 29-10 victory, and I loved every point that was scored. In addition to being a world-class mom for Andrew and Rachel, her work has always been focused on others, on helping others, whether as a physical therapist, working in a preschool, or as a court-appointed special advocate for children. Susan, you've always kept me grounded, and you've always helped me see the value of each individual. Thank you. Current students, this muster is yours. It's the only one in the world like it. This weekend was planned, organized, and led by the Student Muster Committee and supported by Student Muster hosts. I've been impressed with everyone involved, from freshmen to fifth-year seniors and graduate students who have spent this year working to make tonight and this entire week a memorable event for all of us here. I want to add a special shout-out to Abby Kirkhoff and Ryan O'Neill for your invaluable assistance to me. You've already seen and heard the incredible Fighting Texas Aggie Band and the combined talents of the Singing Cadets, Women's Chorus, and Century Singers, with the Ross Volunteers and Silver Taps team on deck. They are all outstanding Aggies, We can be proud of them. Thank you all. As I reflect on what A&M means to me, 2 musters from my undergraduate years have been ingrained in me for the past 40 years. They help me to understand that being an Aggie is first and foremost about respect and integrity. I consider respect and integrity to be 2 keys inextricably tied together that unlock the other Aggie core values of excellence, leadership, loyalty, and service. Respect and integrity are foundational to all that Aggies aspire to be. Today, I want to focus mostly on the importance of living a life of respect. As children, I believe we've all heard the golden rule: treat others as you want others to treat you. But it is not mere child's play. Multiple religions, ancient traditions, and philosophers instruct followers to adhere to some version of the golden rule because of its importance to a functional society. Truly respecting others takes work at every stage of life. Our egos, desire to be liked, pursuit of success, and emotions often blind us to this simplest of truths. As a leader, demonstrating respect and dignity does not mean being soft or accepting subpar performance. For example, when I worked to have an officer sent home from Afghanistan, it wasn't because I didn't respect the officer. Rather, it was because I respected the bomb disposal technicians who cleared explosive devices that were targeting our forces. The officer simply wasn't ready to lead in combat, and they went home. Here on campus, I'm thankful for faculty that set high standards so that future doctors and lawyers and engineers and teachers are fully prepared to be entrusted with our lives and the lives of our children and grandchildren. Our athletic teams offer great window into the balance between respect for the individual and accountability to a group. Respect does not allow us to magically skip the hard work required to be competent and the harder work, even sacrificial work, to be required to be excellent or even great. Rather, when someone respects you, they show you the path and they hold you accountable to achieve your goals. When I think about respect, I also think about a mirror. Do I respect myself enough to look in the mirror and honestly examine my motives, my actions, and my performance? It is really the only way that I will get better. But it's a lot more painful than blaming my coach, my professor, my family, or my boss. I still need and use a mirror. So how did 2 of my first musters cause me to think about respect beyond just thinking about those that we've lost? At muster 40 years ago today, and I don't want to believe it's been that long, Jack Raines, class of 60, spoke about the strong maroon line. It's the line of Aggies committed to service over self. It dates to A&M's founding and has roots as old as civilization itself. Jack Raines said it was my responsibility, and now yours, to uphold what is best about Texas A&M. We owe it to those who come after us to leave behind a history of service and sacrifice and opportunity. He said, quote, "Each day of our lives, we are faced with choices: to shirk responsibility, to flee, or to stand, to do our duty," end quote. Mr. Raines was speaking about choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. In college and in life, many of those choices involve showing respect for one another. At my next muster in 1985, Lieutenant General retired Ormondar Simpson, class of 36, gave a speech entitled, "So You Think You're a Texas Aggie." He told us that simply attending this great university, wearing core brass, getting a ring, standing at Kyle Field, holding a position in a student organization, what he called the accoutrements, the symbols of attending this university, those items did not make a Texas Aggie. Instead, he described the values, character, and impact that he believed defined a true Texas Aggie. He believed in decisions and deeds, not paper, brass, and T-shirts. General Simpson said that a Texas Aggie has a, quote, "wholesome respect for others and for their personal dignity. You accord this not only to your friends, but also to your acquaintances, and indeed to all with whom you deal, even though some, by their actions, may not seem to warrant it." End quote. Think about who was speaking to us. He was a Marine war hero who graduated in the Great Depression, served in World War II, Korea, commanded 35,000 U.S. forces in Vietnam. This Aggie had seen the worst of humanity in war. And trust me, war is hell. Yet there he stood, seemingly looking at me, citing a wholesome respect for others, even though some may not seem to deserve it, as a requirement to be a Texas Aggie. It was strong language and enough to make the best of us search within our hearts about our motives and actions. He challenged us to truly respect others. Our college pastor said it differently. We are all God's children. The year 1985 was also the first muster when a name on the roll felt personal to me. Sophomore cadet Bruce Goodrich, class of '87, had died on Thursday, August 30th, 1984, after a round of group exercises that started at 2:30 a.m. His death led to 3 guilty pleas by students on hazing charges. Bruce's death was certainly unintended. It was also sobering, gut-wrenching, and senseless. It brought a painful focus to the huge responsibility that we bear when assuming leadership, authority, and influence over those in our care, our organizations, and even just within our own peer group. 8 months after his death, I entered here during muster with a purpose for the first time. I think about Bruce when I tell you that your choices, your leadership matters today, now, not sometime in the future after you get your first job or your first supervisory role, or maybe after your commission. Your leadership matters today. Leading can be hard, even messy, as we make our mistakes and learn. And trying out leadership, and to include making those mistakes, is what we hope that you do here. I was probably similar to you. I wanted to be liked, respected, successful. I wanted to accomplish something that expanded my limits. And at times I had to wrestle between multiple good choices when I really wanted them all. Can you relate? How would I balance respect for individuals and the need to uphold the standard? When do activities move from instilling discipline to hazing? When was it necessary to step in as a leader to stop something inappropriate? And when was it better to step back and teach a lesson later in private? I identified role models. Others I held in great respect in the band, the corps, class, faculty, and at my church. I'm sure that you've identified role models too. You're probably seeing their faces right now in your mind. And many of you are the faces that other people are seeing as their role models right now. Before and after that 1985 muster that was so important to me, it was becoming clear that one or more women would be admitted that fall into the Aggie Band for the first time in history. It was roughly 22 years after women were first admitted to Texas A&M University, and 11 years after women were first admitted to the Corps in 1974. While today coeducation at Texas A&M should seem as natural to you as midnight yell practice, in 1985, in many ways, it was still just taking root in Aggie land. It still felt foreign to many former students who attended A&M when it was all-male, all-military school. It was a federal court's consent decree resolving a 6-year-old lawsuit that required Texas A&M to grant women the opportunity to participate in all special units of the Corps Cadets, the Aggie Band, Fish Drill Team, Parsons Mounted Cavalry, and Ross Volunteers. We knew feelings still ran deep within the Corps of Cadets and the Aggie Band. While there was really no question whether a qualified woman would be admitted to the band, the real question was, how would we respond? How would our peers and former students respond? For insight and inspiration, many of us look to the Aggie icon who implemented coeducation at A&M in the 1960s. I had primarily known Texas A&M President Earl Rudder, class of '32, as a war hero. He was an outstanding officer who had meticulously built a battalion of Rangers who became legendary for their D-Day assault at Point du Hoc during the Normandy landings on D-Day. Rudder and his Rangers successfully scaled the sheer cliffs with German fire pouring down from above. But he was more than a war hero. Each of us in this room can find that our Aggie roots, that strong maroon line, trace in some way directly back to Earl Rudder. In 1930, when he arrived in College Station, he was in some ways like many of us, a first-generation college student. He began his college career by playing football at Tarleton Agricultural College. He later transferred to Texas A&M and even helped pay for school by waiting tables at Sabisa. After college, Rudder was a teacher and a football coach before joining millions of American men fighting in World War II. He returned to Texas a hero and held various jobs before coming back to A&M and became president in 1959. Once back at A&M, Rudder blazed a trail rooted in his values. His plan to make A&M a leading institution was based on his respect for all Texans, regardless of wealth or position, gender or race, and the desire that our graduates be prepared to lead our communities, state, and nation to greater heights. Respect was not merely a vocabulary word to Rudder. It was how he believed we should live our lives and what he felt that all Texans in this state deserved. His meticulous approach as president won support and built momentum over the years. He first led A&M to improve student retention, faculty, and education quality, and changed the name to Texas A&M University. It was followed by coeducation, racial integration, and abolishing mandatory core membership. These were seismic changes. Changes essential to begin the transformation from what was a small, all-male military college that Rudder came to the great university with global reach that you attend today. You and I can cite endless examples that illustrate the significantly greater impact made by students, faculty, staff, and researchers today compared with 60 years ago. But in April of 1963, the decision to admit women was front-page news across the state. Many former students and current students at the time fought to stop the change, including some A&M Mothers Clubs. On the Monday after the university's governing board voted to admit women, Rudder called the students to G. Raleigh White Coliseum. Students were hissing and chanting, "We don't want to integrate." It was a shocking reception. Rudder was a beloved symbol of everything that Texas A&M stands for. He told the students that the decision was final and that, quote, "A&M has not gone to hell, nor will it unless we abandon our responsibilities," end quote. He added, quote, you have a basic decision to make. You can pick up your marbles and leave and throw in with some other school, or you can suck up your guts and work to make A&M great. Those that choose to defect should know that they leave A&M in her hour of greatest need, end quote. You see, Rudder wanted and expected students to help lead the needed change, despite the vocal opposition of many to the new direction. This war hero understood that the importance and challenge of developing an entire team to both secure a military invasion as well as to set A&M on a path of global excellence and prominence. In 1985, the emotion of many bandsmen was the same as what Rudder had faced when he was jeered 22 years earlier. In 1963 and 1985, cadets found comfort in and were molded by their experiences they knew, centered on an all-male, 24/7 environment. Some feared, even in 1985, that women would ruin the band, fish drill team, and other units. And fear, regardless of source, evidence, or truth, fear is one of the most powerful, rational thought-blocking and behavior-altering human emotions. Former student voices that opposed the lawsuit were also amplified by news media and others. Frankly, they made A&M look silly. These supporters and leaders claimed that allowing women in the band was a threat to our national security, and that a co-ed band could never work since we did not have co-ed dorms. While many could not imagine something different, perhaps even better, others wondered, as maybe you do here tonight, what took so long? Each band member who would return in the fall of '89 was confronted with a choice, the choice that Jack Raines had spelled out at muster the year before, to shirk responsibility and be swept up in the emotion of those resistant to change, to flee, or to stand on the values that Aggies claim to believe and live by. Would we show the same respect to women that we showed to men? Some Aggie bandsmen proposed loudly that we all write letters of protest. Others talked of quitting. The most outlandish idea that spring was that for the first halftime show, the band form up in the end zone, as always, and after, now forming at the north end of Kyle Field, the men in the band would place their instruments on the ground and walk off the field, leaving any women standing alone. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? We could not. Most of us understood what was required, and the university helped to equip and prepare us. The administration expected us to lead. Earl Rudder and others, including student leaders in the 1960s and beyond, had shown us and show you how to handle rather than fear change. Always choose to treat others with dignity and respect. Don't let anyone cause you to abandon your values. Enforce the new standard. There are no shortcuts. And don't simply discard those who don't agree with you. No one is disposable. An important lesson I learned from Rudder's experience was his goal to bring everyone along. He believed many, but not all, who disagreed in the emotion of the moment would eventually be won over. Rudder was right. Men who once jeered him later cheered when their daughters and granddaughters were accepted into A&M. Integration would be a long journey and not a single step or an event on the calendar. Every academically eligible, we have to say that back in my day, every academically eligible band member of the classes of 1986, 87, and 88 returned in the fall of 1985. We were fortunate that Andrea Batt, class of '89, wanted to be in the Fightin' Texas Aggie Band because she loved the band. The Aggie Band began a journey that raised the standard and opened doors to all qualified citizens. The vast majority did so with respect. It was certainly not an easy year for anyone because emotions still ran high for years, and we had to set a new standard. Yes, life in the dorms changed, but performing halftime shows and developing leaders of character, they were not eliminated. They were improved. Great experiences, friendships, laughter, growing all also remained. When I'm asked about my time at A&M, the first images I see are of my wife, my lifelong friends, Kyle Field as we prepared to step off, balls, dances, 1986 Cotton Bowl, and so much more. My experience here was incredible. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Most importantly, Andrea made it. She blazed a trail that was new. She is still active today with the Texas Aggie Band Association and the Corps of Cadets Association, among others, continuing to invest in tomorrow's leaders. And just look at the Aggie Band today. You're better than ever. And it still produces great business leaders and officers, such as General Eric Smith, Aggie Band Class of '87, and Commandant of the United States Marine Corps. The Fish Drill Team is on yet another championship streak, recently winning its 14th consecutive Mardi Gras drill meet. We are better. There are countless other stories of individuals who followed Rudder's lead and helped and continue to help all qualified Texans be welcomed at Texas A&M. It's important that we look back and see how far the university has come even while understanding the distance that we still need to go. I told you these stories of conflict that occurred right here over many decades because stories of the best of times do you little good when a storm hits. Storms can cause us to question what we stand for. Will we shirk our responsibilities like sand blowing in the wind? Or will we stand firm in our values like a lighthouse showing the way to others? It was in the messiness of conflict and making tough choices opposed by some of my peers and even friends that I unlocked the confidence and ability to lead based upon respect and integrity. I left with the skills needed to follow and to lead men and women from across the nation, from different backgrounds, middle class and poor, extroverts, introverts, every ethnic background, fans of every musical genre possible, people with my faith, those of other faiths, and those of no faith. During my Air Force career, I worked with military personnel from Italy, Japan, Korea, Australia, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Afghanistan, Germany, Belgium, Greece, Turkey, France, Great Britain, and more. You can imagine the span of our differences, but we focused on common objectives and found our way. That's how we get better. We suck up our guts and go to work. The world is going to continue to change, with some areas likely to change more in the next 10 years than they have in the past 30. Yet the foundational principles and values required to have a successful community and relationships will be the same as they have been throughout history. There is no better place to learn how to live out these principles and thrive in the often messy human and college experiences than here at Texas A&M, where you're surrounded by peers, faculty, and staff ready to encourage you, coach you, challenge you, to pick you up, and to hold you accountable. Examples of respect for others, powering service without fanfare surround us. Every Aggie basketball fan knows the amazing Anderson Garcia, class of 24. What most do not know is that he quietly collects large-sized basketball shoes to send back home to the Dominican Republic. Andy knows there are kids there who cannot find or afford large athletic shoes because he played without shoes that fit when he was on the island. He did not seek publicity for his work, but he was just caught in the act of serving others. Andy simply chases excellence and impact on and off the court. Not everyone knows the awesome Alex Stevenson, class of 24. Like Andy, she's a first-generation college student who has also pursued excellence and impact in her 4 years at A&M. One of her choices of service has been to co-lead a Bible study for the past 3 years to help others grow and develop in their faith. How about Jessica Stevenson, class of 12 and 24, graduating with her Doctor of Veterinary Medicine in a few weeks? She was one of 8 veterinary students who deployed to the Texas Panhandle amid the devastating and deadly wildfires this year, part of our veterinary emergency team. Rather than coasting to graduation, Jessica answers her call to serve with excellence. And this weekend, we have all felt the impact of Avery DeWolf, class of 24, Muster Committee Chair. She's put in countless hours for everyone here because she has such a respect for each and every Aggie, past and present. Sitting here tonight, you are part of the strong maroon line that has always respected and served our families and communities. Look back at our history and look forward into our future. Being a Texas Aggie does not end when you cross the stage and receive your diploma. Graduation is the starting point of putting what you've learned here into action. Only you can make the choice to live a life of respect and integrity with impact. My prayer for each of you tonight is that you join Alex, Andy, Jessica, and Avery, and thousands upon thousands of other Aggies living out our core values that we hold dear: respect, integrity, excellence, leadership, loyalty, service. I can't wait to watch you all change our world, one person, one community at a time. Together, our future is limitless. And it starts with respect as we prepare to softly call the muster.
Please stand for the spirit of Aggie Land. You may be seated. Roll call for the absent. In many lands and climes this April day, proud sons of Texas A&M unite. Our loyalty to country, school we pay, and seal our pact with bond of common might. We live again those happy days of yore, on campus, field, in classroom, hall, at drill. Fond memory brings a sigh, but nothing more. Now we are men, and life is one great thrill. On Fortress Isle, 82 years ago today, a group of gallant Aggies, led by Moore, held simple rights, which to us all doth say, the spirit shall prevail over cannon roar. They thought of home and all we hold most dear. Where are they now, those boys we knew so well? Ask of the winds, let smile repress a tear. Think only of their glory when they fell. Corregidor, forevermore a hallowed name to countless sons of Texans yet unborn. Symbolic like, it stands for deathless fame, a shrine sublime till resurrection morn. Softly call the muster, let comrade answer, here. Their spirits hover round us as if to bring us cheer. Mark them present in our hearts, we'll meet some other day. There is no death but life eternal for heroes such as they.
Tonight, as we celebrate the campus muster ceremony, we represent one of many gatherings. No one more important than another. We light this candle and bring to life the enduring spirit of muster and all Aggies who we have honored throughout the years and will honor tonight. May this candle serve as a representation of the collective togetherness that muster affords us and signify the spirit that flows through each ceremony is the same. Let the Spirit breathe life into the memory
and legacy of all whom we softly call the muster. Candle holders and candle holder guests, please stand as you are able. Brittany Romero, class of 2027. Drake B. Hardison, class of 2026. Andrew Thomas Henges, class of 2026. Nate Calloway, class of 2025. Samuel Sam Hartsfield Rains Jackson, class of 2025. Angus McFarlane, class of 2025. Lorena Maria Caceres, class of 2024. Logan Cale Jones, class of 2024. Orion James Patrick Mitchell, class of 2024. Stephen Wilawafemi Odorinde, class of 2024. Christian Duvall Owen, class of 2024. Kylie Elizabeth Pearsall, class of 2024. Madison Taylor Hall, class of 2023. William Harrison Hall, class of 2023. Dylan Kanoa Minamoto, class of 2023. Joel Jose Vasquez, class of 2023. Julia Ann Gracely, class of 2020. Christina Renee Ruzick, class of 2021. Victoria Lynn Fowler Anderson, class of 2016. Thomas William McNean, class of 2017. Joseph Anthony Barron Nunez, class of 2016. Madeline Shea Kelly, class of 2016. Monica Michelle Jones, class of 2013. William Russell DeGrow, class of 2015. Dr. Marciela Perez Gonzalez, class of 2004. James Turner Midkiff, class of 2009. Dr. Michael P. Rozenek, class of 2000. Crystal Ray Shibler, class of 2002. Dr. Nathan A. Vermedal, class of 1998. Lindy Sanders Wagner, class of 2000. Cash Crinhop, class of 1996. Frederick David Thornberry, class of 1997. Colonel Michael Glenn Rosman, MD, class of 1994. Tara Christine Jones, class of 1994. Dr. Albert Thompson Perry II, class of 1993. Ben Harrison, class of 1993. Kendra Elaine Rosick, class of 1993. Anthony Edward Prieto, class of 1993. Carolyn S. Ivy, class of 1992. Christopher Lewis Cook, class of 1992. Joanne Ramirez Toland, class of 1992. Stacy Rue, class of 1992. Russell Joseph Scrahot, class of 1991. Heather Diane Glenn Irwin, class of 1991. Coach Terry Price, class of 1990. Clarence Wendell Wickerson III, class of 1991. Jack Walter Patrick, class of 1988. Bruce Halsey Crocum, class of 1989. Michael Sean Beck, class of 1985. James Kevin Ashby, class of 1986. Evelyn Jane Mobley, class of 1985. Richard Ford, class of 1985. Dr. Andrew John Rettenmeyer, class of 1983. Leanne Moore, class of 1983. Cheryl Fisher Deborah, class of 1982. Dr. Warren Beard, class of 1982. Allison Salazar, class of 1982. Sherry Rose McWillie, class of 1982. Linda Lowry Halter, class of 1979. Brad Mapes, class of 1980. John Edward Schonfield III, class of 2022. Timothy Robert Rafferty, class of 1978. Wanda Jean Roberts, class of 1977. Dr. Donald E. Clark, class of 1976. David F. Fleming, class of 1975. Kenneth Wayne Kaler, class of 1975. Randy Gale Abernathy, class of 1974. Anton Frank Tony Botts, class of 1974. Stephen Everett Steve Chapman, class of 1974. Randall Craig Colwick, class of 1974. Douglas Doug Ray Currier, class of 1974. Lieutenant Colonel Mark Allen Dulaney, class of 1974. Wayne Allen Enderley, class of 1974. Colonel Christopher Thomas Franklin, class of 1974. Dr. Ruth Bagnall Gonzalez, class of 1974. Catherine R. Goodbar, class of 1974. James Allen Greenwood, class of 1974. Joe Michael Hogue, class of 1974. James Robert Jim Macy, class of 1974. Marchie C. Brown McCartney, class of 1974. Donald Patrick Pat McGuire, class of 1974. Michael Scott Mike McWilliams, class of 1974. John Kenneth Means, class of 1974. Homer Ferguson Mills, class of 1974. Dennis Michael Moltz, class of 1974. David Joe Moore, class of 1974. Robert Bob Lindsay Nathan Jr., class of 1974.
William Snowden Nick Nichols III, class of 1974. Danny R. Norris, class of 1974. Billy Bill J. Parks, class of 1974. Donald Lee Ritchie, class of 1974. Homer Samuel Sam Schertz, class of 1974. Stephen Charles Scotty, class of 1974. Larry Noble Smith, class of 1974. Ronald Lamar Sparks, class of 1974. Michael Dwayne Vaughter, class of 1974. Michael David Kalina, class of 1973. Charles Wesley Casada, class of 1972. Betty S. Nash, class of 1972. Terry Lee Keener, class of 1971. Harold Franklin Lambert, Jr., class of 1971. Michael Otts Ford, class of 1970. Dr. Gerald Don Kilgore, class of 1970. Larry Bruce Wells, class of 1970. William Pryor Womack, class of 1970. Harvey Ross Oschenbeck, class of 1969. Captain Ronald Wayne Forrester, class of 1969. Eric Clark Miller, class of 1969. Colonel James L. Sox-Laban, class of 1969. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Lee Lanning, class of 1968. J. Arthur Vanderveer II, class of 1968. Gary Webb, class of 1968. Charles William Caldwell, class of 1967. Professor Carol Dean Claycamp, class of 1967. Dr. C. R. Salmon, class of 1967. Gary Edwin Caffey, class of 1966. Charles Skip McAdams, class of 1966. Dr. Larry Joel Ringer, class of 1966. Richard Wayne Armstrong, class of 1965. Colonel John C. Becca, Jr., class of 1965. Donald Kent Robinson, class of 1965. William T. Sherman, class of 1965. Rayford Ragland Stripling, class of 1965. Curtis L. Allen, class of 1964. Lieutenant Colonel David Michael Booth, class of 1964. Robert Lee Rogers, class of 1964. Eugene Jean L. Butler, class of 1963. Charles Ray King, class of 1963. Robert Dodd Bates, class of 1962. John Wesley Ham, class of 1962. Wayne Franklin Liska, class of 1962. Woodrow Wilson Newman, Jr., class of 1962. Bernard C. Hare, Jr., class of 1961. Dr. Donald Frank Wanyura, class of 1961. Don J. Lenore, class of 1960. Dr. Lee L. Lowery, Jr., class of 1960. William Ansel Pruitt III, class of 1960. Lieutenant David Van Richburg, class of 1960. Leonard Christopher Benedict, class of 1959. Dr. Davis L. Ford, class of 1959. Billy Hope Thompson, class of 1959. H. Grady Ash, Jr., class of 1958. Thomas Edward Giles, class of 1958. James Edmund Owen, class of 1958. Joe K. Moore, class of 1957. Ronnie Gale Bradley, class of 1956. Alfred Olson Hilgers, class of 1956. Jerry Carl Lonan, class of 1956. Richard Thomas Chamblin, class of 1955. Marvin Paul Tate, class of 1955. Tom Yates, class of 1955. Rolando G. Dominguez, class of 1954. Carol W. Phillips, class of 1954. Jib Keblinger, class of 1953. Dr. Patrick Henry LeBlanc, class of 1953. John Thomas Lamar McNew, Jr., class of 1953. Perry J. Shepard, class of 1953. Colonel John Rudolph Vilas, class of 1953. Otto L. Fuchs, Jr., class of 1950. Earl Ray Gordy, class of 1950. Anthony Luke Scamardo, class of 1949. Joseph Harris. Todd Laney Gregory. Gerald Keith Ebanks. George Drummond Edge. Dr. Edward C. A. Runge. Lannis Chargois. Todd Arant. Sao Liu. Dr. Mark Fawcett. Marvin Stevens. Dr. James Womack.
Please extinguish your flame and be seated. In Memoriam by Lieutenant Colonel David Harrigan, class of 1968. We stood a little taller and a little prouder then when we heard the call of muster and the roll call just began. We stood there all together and wiped away the tears when our names were called out softly and answered with a here. And so we've joined together with our brothers of the past to make our final resting place at Aggie Land our last. We take a toast to our brotherhood wherever they may roam. For us, the trek is over. Aggie Land, we're coming home.
In 1942, E.E. McQuillan, Executive Secretary of the Association of Former Students and Class of 1920, sent a message to the chairman of each Aggie muster worldwide. In this message was included a traditional closing of the ceremony that has remained an integral part of many musters to this day. Randy Manis, Class of 1974, will now stand and dismiss the muster.
I charge you each to remain firm in your loyalty to humanity and to your country. Keep warm in your hearts your affection for each other and for your alma mater. The muster is dismissed until April 21, 2025, and may good fortune smile upon us until we meet again.